And what was the first product you started to carry and distribute?
Started the company actually right before I left the lab world. So as I was getting out of the lab, the whole idea was I picked up a 3D printer. So we were one of the very first, if not the first, companies to sell desktop 3D printers directly into the
Jewel, right?
Yeah, it was a Jewel 3D printer. So which is I believe
didn't
it's
know that. The first product was a 3D printer.
that was our very first product. So we started as a chairside 3D printing company. Yeah.
Amazing. And then CBCT came after. Was it that second product was
CBCT was months after. It was right after because it was obviously just a natural thing for us because I came from the imaging, CBCT imaging world. So that was a natural product. So yes, it was a 3D printer, then the CBCT, and then of course got into intraoral scanning
and how was the landscape of 3D printing in that 2016 that you started?
In 3D printing, and we were really just printing models. I mean, really, and even in the laboratory world, everything that we were printing in the lab was just a model that we could build an appliance off of. But it was huge because the big thing, the transition for us in the laboratory world was doctors can send us digital files. They don't have to mail in impressions, which, as you know, impressions are really, really bad. And the level of impressions can be good, but most of them are not very good. And you're trying to make a really good product, the appliance, out of a really poor impression. So we could receive those files with, digitally because intraoral scanning was becoming bigger and bigger. But it was how we were using the 3D printers in the lab was that gave us a tool to then, print that digital model. So it totally closed the circle.
And then doing retainers and aligners. Was it a software back then
to
do ortho? Because this is pre-ULab.
This is pre-ULab. So our lab was one of 3 laboratories, including Invisalign, that were actually could legally make, tooth moving appliances at the time.
That's before Voxel, yeah?
Yeah, before Voxel. So the lab we were approved to do, so we were doing some tooth movement back then, but we were doing more minor, 3 trays, 5 trays, very, very simple minor tooth movements. Yeah.
Got it. And then when you started to carry Jewel, that was to do same aligners in office, right?
Yeah, because we were specifically focusing on orthodontic offices, and orthodontic offices were really the first offices to buy intraoral scanners. In the early days. So they were the first segment of dentistry to, really adopt intraoral scanning. So we had so many practices that had iTero scanners and they would claim to be digital, but yet they were still taking impressions to make a retainer and everything. So, you needed that 3D printer to close the loop and to truly be digital.